Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
At AM 630.
WMAL.
7:07 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian Wilson with you. Happy Monday to you. We got Stuart Varney coming up about a half hour from now from the Fox Business Channel, and we have Mark Levin, who you hear every night, at least Monday through Friday, right here on WMAL 6 to 9. On the line right now, though, our legal analyst, Joe DIGENOVA, former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Brian.
So on Friday, Eric Holder, there have been a lot of leaks in Washington. There are always leaks in Washington, but lately there have been pretty damaging leaks when it comes to national security. And the Attorney General appointed 2 federal prosecutors to look into these leaks of classified information. I believe it was U.S. Attorney Ronald
Machen.
Machen, thank you.
Machen in D.C. and Rod Rosenstein in Maryland.
Thank you. So is this the way to go? Is this typical, or would you rather see a special prosecutor? What do you think of this?
Well, I think this is a good start. Both of these individuals have excellent reputations. Rod Rosenstein is, of course, a holdover from the Bush administration, a superb lawyer. Ron Machen, the new U.S. Attorney for D.C., a Democrat, not a holdover. A very independent people. Ron Machen has political aspirations and wants a future in D.C. politics. He has to be very careful here not to end his career early with an apparent cover-up. The problem here for the president is very, very simple. There was no condemnation of any of these leaks until the final story and the White House being pummeled with questions about violations of the law. Leak investigations are fascinating because of their trajectory, how they come about, how officials react to them. The president's narcissistic reaction the other day at the White House when he said these leaks did not come from my White House, and that he found the accusations insulting or offensive. Mm-hmm. The president is too late to this party with condemnation. It is very evident when you look at the pattern of stories in the AP, the New York Times, the Washington Post, that these were authorized leaks by senior government officials to create a pattern of information for some purpose. Now, it was not an intelligence purpose, because you do not leak the kind of details, for example, that were in the Stuxnet story.
Right.
That was perhaps the single most damaging leak in the last 15 years. Somebody authorized that leak. And all you have to do is go back and see what Bob Gates said to Tom Donilon over at the National Security Council after the bin Laden leaks, after the killing of bin Laden. When Bob Gates shows up in Donilon's office and said, "I've got a new media strategy for you." And Donilon said, "What's that?" And Gates said, "Shut the F up." Now, what's going to happen here is there's going to be a grand jury. Well, if there isn't a grand jury, this is not a real investigation.
Right.
If there is a grand jury, it will be a real investigation. And I'll tell you who needs to get a lawyer. David Axelrod. He's going to be right in the middle of this. This is a very serious matter. Bob Mueller, who was, just as you know, re-upped when they passed a special statute so he could continue to be the FBI director. Mueller is not going to end his career also with a cover-up. This is very bad news for the White House.
Right.
Eric Holder understands how serious this is. He does not need another problem. These are 2 good lawyers, Machen and Rosenstein. They're going to do what they have to do. And the first person you interview in this investigation is Bob Gates, because he will point you to his suspects. He's not happy about this. Remember, he's no longer in the government. He's got nothing to lose. He doesn't care about his next job. This is going to get very ugly, and it's very important.
All right, so the other side of this, though, is, of course, this was in an article in the New York Times written by a guy named David Sanger.
Right.
Now, will Sanger be called before the grand jury, and are we headed to one of those things where a reporter refuses to reveal his source, and therefore he has to go to jail?
They won't go to him first. They've got a lot of work to do before they go to him, and they don't have to go to him. His articles, if you read them and go back and look at these stories, they name people. Tom Donilon is named. Brennan is named. A whole bunch of senior officials are named by name.
And isn't it the policy at the Justice Department not to go after a reporter unless there's no other option?
That is correct. So, Sanger is going to be the last guy who gets interviewed, and they might not even have to get to him, because in these situations, they start interviewing people. Some people are going to take the fifth. I can assure you, there are going to be people very quickly in this. Plus, the grand jury subpoenas will allow for phone records, internet records, email records. All of this can be accumulated secretly and quietly. They will be able to determine a group of individuals who were talking with Sanger and other reporters at the AP. But let me reiterate. When you look at the pattern of stories and you read them all over and over again, this was a controlled leak by the White House and the national security apparatus. This was an authorized leak. And here's the conundrum for the two prosecutors. The President of the United States has unilateral authority to declassify any information he wants. So the real issue is here. There's no doubt in my mind that the President authorized these disclosures. He will not call them leaks. He will not. And by the way, if you look at his statement on Friday, he did not issue a flat denial. He issued a harumph. He did not say we didn't do this. He criticized what happened, and it was really fascinating. It was a use of language that only somebody who is, quote, as smart as he is knows how to use. But even if the President authorized these leaks, then it becomes a political problem, not a legal problem.
Right.
Because if he did, then that confirms that the purpose of the stories was to burnish his image.
Well, if he did that, then we'll know that that information was declassified, right?
That is correct. And there is no doubt in my mind that he, in fact, authorized most, if not all, of these disclosures. People in the national security apparatus do not do this unless they are given a signal that it is okay to do it. And when you read all of these stories together as a group of stories, it is inescapable that these were authorized disclosures at the highest levels of the United States government. And I will tell you this about the Stuxnet story. If there aren't people dead now, there will be some dead people shortly as a result of those leaks. And unbelievable and unprecedented, if in fact it is proved that these were authorized disclosure, this will be one of the most serious leak cases in history.
Real quick, the Secretary of Commerce is going to be charged with felony hit and run in California, or is being charged. I just did a quick internet search on this. It says that a felony is if a person other than yourself is injured or killed. Is this a serious matter?
Yeah, it's this is a very sad story. Apparently, he must have some sort of medical condition because the police have already said there are no drugs or alcohol, but he could have had a mild stroke.
Yep.
I mean, this is what happens to people. We have stories here recently of people hitting other cars downtown, and when you find out later the person had a stroke while driving. That's what this sounds like. He won't be Secretary of Commerce anymore. It'll be gone by tomorrow.
All right. Good to have you on, Joe, as always. We appreciate